Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Day in Film MiniCast. It is your host, the Patnator, as always, and today I have a piping hot, fresh release in theaters to talk about. Before we jump into, well, you see the title, before we jump into Nosferatu, I have to ask that you please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really does mean the world to me. We are constantly growing. We have like 225 or something right now. It's insane. It really does mean the world to me. And before we continue, I have to say, if I sound very tired or a little slow, it's really just because my screening was at 10:40, pretty much. I have a very strict bedtime. My body just can't handle it. So if I sound a little funny, and if I don't go into detail with the movie much at all, or really as much as I normally do, that's because of the same thing. You know, my schedule is very consistent, and let's say there were 2 heavy blinks in Nosferatu, but I still watched most of it. Anyway, let's jump right in. Nosferatu is a 2024 Robert Eggers directed movie that came out on Christmas Day this year, only 3 days ago, as of when I'm recording this. And I went into Nosferatu with huge hype and hopefully good expectations too. I had recently watched the original Nosferatu, the 20s one or whenever it's from. You can find the review on my channel, and that movie is very special to me because it's one of the first silent films that I've really watched all the way through, and being such an iconic piece of film history, I was very excited to watch it, and that movie is, I think, much better than this movie, as crazy as it is to say. To talk about Nosferatu this year, first of all, excellent casting and direction from Robert Eggers. Everything, like, technically in this movie is really good. There are a lot of, the whole movie looks beautiful. Robert Eggers is a pro at doing period pieces, and this movie is another example of him doing it wonderfully. This movie is lit by moonlight, this movie is lit by torch, this movie is lit by, the whole movie just looks great. The setting, the German town looks, as good as it should. Everything just looks perfect. He nailed it. Casting-wise, I think this is also a huge W for Robert Eggers. Lily Rose Depp, who I haven't heard of until this movie, was incredible, to put it lightly. She really does star the film, and she does not hold back her acting capabilities. It's a lot of physical acting. It's a lot of, really involved acting, but she does it really well. And it never feels like it's forced or it's silly or it's cringe. It always feels like it fits. She doesn't do too much or too little. Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, or Nosferatu, is really good as well. Everyone is great. Now, as for their story significance, that's a different thing. The score was really good, and the movie is pretty scary. For being a horror movie, it did get me 1 or 2 times. And the score too, it has a very creepy score, as silly as it sounds. Now, comparing it to the first Nosferatu, the original from the 20s, this movie, so what ends up happening here in this film is that Robert Eggers is so familiar, and this is kind of expected, actually. He's so familiar with how iconic and how much iconography there is in the original Nosferatu, that he almost is too scared to do anything totally unique with it. Now, granted, Nosferatu is, not just a Dracula clone. He's definitely not the same guy from the movie from the 20s or from the 60s or whenever the second one was, or just the other Nosferatu was. But he doesn't really commit to a completely new identity. He tries to keep that weird, kind of off-putting Nosferatu from the first one, and I'm sure he uses similar traits of Nosferatu from the second one, but I kind of wish he was a bit more unique. In this movie, he almost feels like more of a monster than an actual person. He's just eating people and just kind of going along with his day. The whole movie, in a way, at least Nosferatu, feels kind of, not aimless, but just wandering. it doesn't feel like he has a super strong direction. He's just trying to get to the girl, and anything in his way can get annihilated for all he cares. And remember, guys, please remember, if you watch Nosferatu and you loved it, and I'm shitting all over your favorite movie of the year, it's because I was asleep for like at least 20 minutes of it. I absolutely hate that I fell asleep. If I could go back in time, obviously I would stop myself, but something about late night screenings in the theater I just can't do. I did the same thing at Gladiator 2, I can't help it. But to talk a little bit more about the movie, I think it is still a very good movie. Like, this is a movie that you'd enjoy if you put on, especially if you were in the mood for a Robert Eggers horror. This is a very graphic movie as well. Nosferatu, or Count Orlok, is a very scary, imposing character, which is good. You don't want him to be a pushover, because then who really cares? The movie's named after him, for heaven's sake. The whole movie is just, it's a very heavy movie. It never feels like there's really any respite. But and that's another problem with the movie, is that when there is respite, when there's a kind of pause in everything, it always feels so like dialogue heavy, or not dialogue heavy, but it just feels so exposition heavy. It's like, okay, you just saw a cool scene of Nosferatu eating 2 kids, and now you're gonna get 12 minutes of them talking about how Lily Rose Depp has to kill Nosferatu, or whatever it may be. And sorry for my thumbs cracking, it's late, and I really want to get to bed. And honestly, guys, I don't have much more to say about Nosferatu. I might end up rewatching just to, I don't know, understand it more. I really do feel bad for not paying nearly as much attention as I should have to it, but again, I can't do late hours. But I don't have much more to say. If you somehow enjoyed this incredibly minimal review, then I suggest you stick around, because they're only gonna go up from here in the quality. But yeah, I don't have much more to say. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed somehow. And I will see you in the theaters. And watch this, guys. Willem Dafoe, Nosferatu. That was pretty good, right? Alright, you guys have a good one.